Woo!
Good
Coach
evening.
G,
Tomorrow.
what's up, man? How are you?
It's Thursday. Happy New Year.
Hey, happy
Yes.
New Year. It's going to be phenomenal.
It is. It already is.
Yes.
It's weird. It's interesting. It's confusing. It's exciting. Woo! Here we are. Hey, man, we made it. 2020. There's apocalypse and people are sick and there's elections. Baby, we're here. We're made it.
Hey, this is going to be the best year of our lives, period, because it's the present.
Yeah. And that is the present.
Yeah. The present
So
is the present.
I wanted to talk about this present that we're giving to ourselves, Jamar, because this growth pattern that we have committed to, and the reason why I think transitions real well into what we're talking here about today.
What are we talking about?
Well, there's all these patterns and ideas that we entertain, and at some point, a future that holds wealth for all of us is beyond those patterns. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't use some of them to be able to help the framework for what's next, but I think that's what we're going to do tonight, Jamar. We're going to kind of break down the old stuff and how we're going to carry it over into the new stuff, and let's frame it a little tighter, man. What you explain to me what tonight's theme means to you.
Are you trying to say that we're going to talk about old principles and new perspectives? Wow. Say, sounds like a great message to me. Old principles, new perspectives. Let's go, baby.
I just appreciate so much how I'm all like, what are we talking about tonight? I was like, old principles, a new perspective. I'm the soccer, and tomorrow's like, straighten this out, baby. Let's get down.
Teamwork makes the dream work, man.
Yes.
It's awesome. And talking about old principles and new perspectives, you just embarked on a new perspective journey the last few days. Can you share a little bit about what you and the amazing power partner are doing right now?
Yes. So for those of the VESTED community that don't know about the opportunity that Rebecca and I had to travel to the Eastern Hemisphere of the world, we spent 3.5 years in Bali, and we were exposed to a number of different holistic practices that we have definitely adopted into our life. And one of them is fasting. So juice fasting specifically. So we do cold pressed juice Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And that's it. Water. And we're trying this new mushroom tea drink. That's a new one. But then on Friday or Thursday, Friday, we'll throw in a smoothie. And then on Saturday, Sunday, we will do, I can't even think. My brain's not working. Listen, I feel terrible. Like first day, you're like, yeah, I'm doing a juice fast. The second day, you're like, oh, okay, I think this is good. And then the third day, you're like, wait, I'm kind of hungry. And today, it's just like, I'm having trouble connecting my thoughts.
What day is it? Day what? Day 4?
A 4. Oh, it's the worst. Tomorrow will be better. Tomorrow will be better.
Oh man.
Look,
Hey,
the
hey, Coach G, I'm gonna pick you up. We're gonna go to In-N-Out.
Everybody was doing this before. This is what the pre-production movie was like. He's rifling. I was like,
I got rice, beans, greens, tomatoes, potatoes.
Okay, Jamar, but why would we put ourselves through something like this? Because to me, at first, somebody just came and they looked at the athlete in me and they challenged me and they said, look, 30 days, bet you can't do it. So I did it. And I realized that around day 10, the next 20 days weren't hard. I made a decision and I let my body change. And it was cool because once I got over the idea of I'm not going to die by not eating food, and this is the routine that I need to commit to, this principle, this new principle that I'm adding to my life with the energy of wanting to better myself is doing things on the inside of my body innately that I can study to confirm that they're good. But here's the thing. When you're not eating, your brain's going, this isn't good. You need food. And then this weird cycle starts. Like it's not about food anymore. All of a sudden, weird energies start moving in your body, and you're like, "What? I don't even know." You're angry, you're tired, you're happy, your breath stinks, you're sweating weird. It's like, and then you're like, "Wait a minute, there's more going on here."
Mhm.
So, Jamar, when we were talking about the theme for tonight, and even last episode about how we need to kind of like break these patterns, or why it's so hard for us to commit to things that we know we should do, that said we were going to, but for whatever reason we get distracted. So I don't know, Jamar, like you're going through a little process the same way. And before we get into the inspire section, tell me a little bit about your renewal this year. Tell me about your commitment to your passions and your energetic movement forward.
Oh man, absolutely 100%. On New Year's Eve, right? Right after our last show. I mean, you guys actually, I was gonna call you, bro, that night. You guys inspired me because after the show, I was like, hey, what are you gonna do? You said, yeah, we're gonna grab some pizza. Well, I went and I ordered a large Domino's pizza with Philly cheesesteak, pepperonis, mushrooms, well done, large pizza, huge, 10 slices, right? No, how many? No, 8 slices and ranch. So I went home New Year's Eve. I had 5 slices of pizza by myself, and I had 5 Reese's, little Reese Kisses by myself.
Nice.
And I was in bed before 11 p.m. And I rested all of New Year's Day. I rested that was Friday. I rested all Saturday. I rested all Sunday. And then Monday, I'm like, okay, it's game time. And then I was inspired to really take up my accountability to the next level. And I reached out to one of my brothers. Actually, Mike, who was on the show, Mike is stepped up to be one of my coaches. Every week we meet. Every Monday now at 4:30, we meet for a weekly accountability, goal setting, making sure we're on the right trajectory for the what we want to accomplish this year. And he said, hey man, I'm on 75 hard. And I'm like, man, I heard of it. 75 hard. If you guys have Vested Community, if you haven't heard of 75 hard, it's the Andy Frisella program. 75 days of 2 workouts. So one workout has to be outside, and each workout is a minimum of 45 minutes. You have to drink 1 gallon of water a day. So 2 workouts, 1 outside, 45 minutes each, 1 gallon of water. You have to read a minimum personal development entrepreneur book of 10 pages, right? Then you have to do a meal plan, no cheat days. So for me, I took out all the sweets. And if you know me, man, you know how much I love a bazooki or something down in that whole dessert genre. I took out alcohol. I'm a Tito's fan. I like Tito's vodka. That's my go-to. No hangover. I love clean Scout and Stellar wine. But I took all that out. So for me, today is day 3 of 75 hard. And when we're talking about old principles, new perspective, see, a commitment to this type of hyper focus is not a new principle. It's an old principle of commitment and focus and meditating all of our energy on the goal. But it's a new perspective for me. Just like for you, Coach D, the juicing, fasting is liquid fasting is not a new principle. It's an old principle, but a new perspective has been brought to you by you embracing this old principle. So, and we didn't even know that we were both embarking on these different programs and plans on our own, but we're on the same frequency with stepping into something to have a new perspective.
You know what? A lot of us want to move into this better version of ourselves, and there's so much out there right now when it comes to information. Like there's practices, there's books, there's seminars. Like so, to kind of figure out how to dedicate ourselves towards a better version of who we know we can be, we're going to need some inspirational stuff.
Come on.
So, let's hit the fasting first.
What is fasting mean?
Well, it's been therapeutically, been used therapeutically since at least the 5th century.
Wow. BC.
Oh, look, it makes sense. Like you're basically giving your digestive tract the opportunity to relax while your body almost restarts. So I don't think that it's idea to commit to for long periods of time. But at the same time, the way we eat and the way we stress, and especially this last year, the way things are going down, like I got sick, man. Like I don't know if I had COVID, but like I had me a cold, like people get in the winter, and it sucked. So, and I didn't always eat the greatest, and I stressed out, and so it's just I don't know. To me, it's a reboot, and I'm not desiring the discomfort, but at the same time, like once you commit to something like this, and the days start to go by, it becomes about more than just the juice. It becomes about being aware of your thoughts. Oh, this is when I normally grab a snack. This is where in the daytime I get real hungry, and what do I do? Like how can I change my thoughts and my approach towards this so that instead of entertaining suffering, I can move through this differently. And then when you move back to your old habits or your old stuff, you can kind of take a whole different approach. So
Wow.
wait, let's do this, Bartender.
Yeah, let's do it.
So let's say some inspirational stuff there, Jamar.
Man.
Before our meeting, you said something that kind of took me by surprise. And I guess I didn't really know before I went to the eastern side of the world, but you said you didn't know what a chakra was. So,
what'd you call me? Oh, okay.
Okay, so look, as we move into this whole self-awareness phase of our lives, of our humanity's understanding, we're going to have to merge some real old practices with some new practices, and it might be comfortable, might not, but the East kind of views our body differently. I saw a guru when I was in the jungle in Indonesia, and he said, listen, in the West, people kind of think your body's like a Chevy. You can just have the transmission go out, you get another part, you put it back in. He goes, that's not how it works. He's like, we are organic beings. You are like a plant. You need the right sun. You need the right water. You need the right food. You need love. And then once you get that, you can manifest into what you're going to be. So very similarly, we have these energetic systems. And even the West has confirmed in their insurance game, which they take quite seriously, that most plans include modalities such as acupuncture. And to me, that means that the Western world is confirming that practice works energetically. So maybe they don't give you the specific examples, but why would they cover it with big pharma and insurance companies if it didn't hold back? I mean, that is a 3,000-year-old tradition, maybe further. And Western science is, only a couple hundred years. So
when you say East and West, what do you mean by East and West? Are you talking?
Okay. So when I go to Indonesia and there's this Eastern healing concept.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
They're not hitting you with pharmaceuticals. It's not about x-rays and this and that. They're reading your energies. And okay, so the best way that I've been able to kind of understand, like we have a pituitary gland and we have a thymus gland and we have all these different glands. And in the East, they don't kind of just name them for this physical thing. They say there's an energy center. So a chakra, Jamar, is this.
Wow.
Each of our center. You go for it, bro. You go for it.
Okay. So here we go. Chakras in Indian thought, each of the centers of spiritual power in the human body. Each of the centers of spiritual power in the human body, usually considered to be 7 in number. Chakra. Oh, wow. So we have like these power portals.
From the West, when you hear stuff like that, when you look at it as a definition on a piece of paper, it's just real hard to wrap your head around because the way we've been conditioned to understand things suggests more of a mechanical approach. So to me, when I'm trying to understand a difficult concept, like when it's explained in a cartoon, it seems to tick a little better because there's a little kid in me that likes to kind of enjoy receiving new information in a way that feels good. So Jamar, I found a little video on the YouTube to kind of lighten up the little chakra conversation and give a nice little metaphor. So,
Chakra. Chakra.
In order to master the avatar state, you must open all the chakras. And tell me everything you know about chakras.
What are chakras?
Oh, I see. I guess we'll start with the basics. The water flows through this creek much like the energy flows through your body. As you see, there are several pools where the water swirls around before flowing on. These pools are like our chakras.
So chakras are pools of spiraling energy in our bodies?
Exactly. If nothing else were around, this creek would flow pure and clear. However, life is messy and things tend to fall in the creek. And then what happens?
The creek can't flow?
Yes, but if we open the paths between the pools,
The energy flows.
Chakra flow. Chakra flow.
yeah, man. And I mean, it's energy. Ooh, that's cool.
Oh,
All right,
I like
so,
that. Oh, hey. Whoa, check this
Okay.
out.
The best way I can Western up this idea is when something happens that is really intense, like you get scared or really cold or just tense up, like that. What happens? You squeeze, right? So let's just say that your soul does that inside this meat suit all day long. Sometimes you're aware of it, sometimes you're not. So a lot of times, Jamar, I'm sure after a long day at work, you'll go home and you'll experience muscle tension in your neck, your shoulders. And then maybe if you don't necessarily work out or get massaged or tend to that muscle tension, you get what you know or what we know in the West as knots. So we look at this and we're like, okay, this is a structural problem. So I'll just go get a massage and I just need to, get some rest and it'll go away. Well, technically you're right. But what this is your energetic system telling you little things, inklings of where there's a blockage, like they just explained in that, like water, for example. So when we get these blockages, we get these tense points in our body. And sometimes that can turn into a pattern. So if you get multiple chakras or energy centers blocked or not operating at the right, not in alignment with each other, you start to get backed up. And I think in the West, it gets real extreme because we nail it. We nail it from pretty much every angle. We don't sleep good. We don't drink good water. We don't eat good food. We stress a lot. We overindulge all the time, and we don't really do much soulfully to tend to our energetic system. So these knots, man, can turn into hypertension. Hypertension can turn into much more intense problems. Inflammation can turn into much more intense problems. So if we don't get these wheels to function correctly, energetically, and if we don't get them in alignment, they start to get backed up. And people are like, well, I don't know where the cancer came from. And it's like, all right, well, that genetically you might have been predisposed. And then nurture wise, your people that brought you in here taught you all the same stuff that made you genetically predisposed. And then when it was your turn, you never really turned those off and just kind of started living into those habits. And it's like, and then you're like, well, my grandpa had it, so I was destined. And it's like, well, if you would have recognized that and drank better water and slept better and understood that you're around chemicals a lot, then, maybe you, I don't know.
Well,
This talk to me, Mark.
This the world we're living in. I mean, we have so much exposure, right, to all these other variables that we can't control, and there are things that we can control. But how do we go about, first of all, how do we where's the awareness trigger of the chakra alignment, and then what's the how to, like, how are we aware of it, and then how do we actually take the action to get in the alignment?
Well, the fact that we're talking about it is inspiring because to me, it took a really long time to be in a position where I can have a conversation with other people about it, because it was more before like, I'd rather disprove it than try to accept the idea that that's the way it might be and then understand it. So the fact that people are starting to open themselves to the idea that like there's more to what's going on. We have a conscious, we have a subconscious and an unconscious, and so much happens that there's got to be some sort of mechanism where we could figure out how to align ourselves with what we want a little bit better, instead of being constantly distracted or being probed or leaned or moved in other directions. Because energetically, when you're attached to a television that's pumping out lots of sketchy thoughts, if you accept them into your being, how are you supposed to move through the day without being affected by that? So how many people are doing the opposite right now? How many people are exposing themselves to incredible thoughts and then going out in the day and dealing with what we're having to deal with? So even for myself, I'm grinding through this in my own hard-headed way, because I know that there's a better way. I participate and experience in the better way, but part of me is like, I don't want to be uncomfortable. And then when I am, I'm not real good at being uncomfortable. So I think a lot of people are going through this right now. They're in this process, whether they're aware of it or not, that they're changing and things are different, whether they like it or not. And there's just this uncomfortable feeling. What do you think, man?
Man, this whole, I'm glad we're talking about this, because you're bringing, this is something for me that, right, obviously chakras is not a new principle, right? This is an old principle, and there's tons of information out there where we can learn more about the chakras, but it's not something that I've said, hey, you know what, I need to learn more about the chakras. But now I'm like, okay, this is an old principle, and I need to have new perspective. We're in a new world. Like we got to have, we have to be open to these new perspectives, especially when it's about us operating in a more efficient and better capacity. And I think in the world we're living in today, it's very important that we must understand all of the ability that we have to help our body operate in the best level. And I think a lot of us are not aware of these old principles that are existent that could give us a new perspective on how we approach our everyday life. And so for me, I mean, this is new territory for me, but I'm excited to learn, man. I want to learn. I want to learn more.
Well, the cool part, Jamar, is you do it. We do it in ways that we don't necessarily know about. So the inspirational part of this is to be able to find an opportunity to pursue thoughts that are going to put you in a position to feel the way that you want. But how do you do that? So as we approach this new awareness concept, we're starting to also learn how to accept things that aren't awesome, that aren't comfortable. We've been layering our life over these things and comfortably moving around them, and I'll deal with that later. And then all of a sudden it's just like, here's a pile of it and it can't go anywhere, and you have to do it right now. And that's just part of what we're dealing with moving forward. So before we move on to the creative section, Jamar, before we got into this episode, you and I were talking about how there was like this old way of things happening and doing. And then there was the second part of like understanding that was the way, knowing that we needed to change, and nothing about either of those two processes is going to be involved in the solution for the next one. Yet here we are dealing with all those same solutions. So how do we create from that place?
Man, that's the whole process. It's the self-discovery, right?
True.
We're the goal. And I asked you in the pre-meeting, isn't the goal to have self-mastery? Like, is that a goal? Maybe or not?
Is it yours? Is it mine? You and I both, we're on the pursuit. Like we kind of just like red pill, blue pill, and we're just like, you got a cup of water, man, I'll pop these both and see what happens. You know what I mean? And there's no turning back. Once you do that, it doesn't matter what color the pill is. Once you make that commitment, that decision to go within yourself and find that best person, it's not like you can be like, all right, pause that, let me go back to being a lame. You don't do that. So let's create. Let's do create. Bring it out.
Yeah. Let's bring it out. Because I want to hear about some stuff too. I got a question for you, bro.
Oh yeah, I'm going into it. I know.
Yeah. Let's go. But so what are some of what are some of the weird things that you've done, as before you tap into this meditation state?
Okay. Everybody should explore with. Are you really gonna play this? This is it. Oh, okay. This one. Okay, so
What is this? What is this?
Okay, when I was in Indonesia, they do all kind of different stuff. I mean, I can't say if it's effective or ineffective because it was so brand new to me that it was like it wasn't a shock to the system, but it took a minute to like accept how different it was. I mean, it was you go to the doctor and you're like you're familiar with, I'm sick, I go to the doctor, he helps me out, he takes care of me, da, da, da. But then when you're going to these sketchy huts in Indonesia and like these guys, there was one guy that hit me with a sandalwood stick. He poured a bunch of oil all over me, and then he hit me with a sandalwood stick. And his idea was like, okay, we got to beat the bad spirits out of you. So I'm like, okay, look at this. Okay? So
pull back.
It hurt so bad, man. Poor Rebecca, she did the same thing. She was bruised. Can you find the bruise? It might be deep dive. My goodness, you should have seen it. So we got a chance to go all these different. I mean, we had a chi healer that squeezed on your neck and was able to like manipulate the chi within your body when you had blockages. But all of this was surrounding. Like, if we're going to look at the Western concept of having knots in your back, what if there was an idea that suggested that it was more than just something physical?
Yeah. That
there was a knot in your back that was physical, but it was also caused by a mental and an emotional and possibly even a spiritual imbalance. So, is this the meditation retreat? Okay, so this is another one. We did, we went and chanted with a Buddhist regime. And what they would do is they'd get together and they'd do this mantra. And it was for like 3 hours straight. And you can look into it, all the sounds and everything mean more than what you'll hear. But what they do is they go, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. And in a huge group with like 30 people, there's almost like this weird hum vibration where everybody's singing, but you're part of it. And it never stops, but everybody has to stop to breathe. And it's like, from a Western perspective, like just participating in it brought me to this weird place. So I got a video that takes one of the most central practices that I took from the East that I do every day. And to me, it was important because I'm a nut. I'm a nut job. Some people are addicted to drugs or food. I am addicted to my thoughts and my emotions. And I didn't realize this till after I broke my neck and had to go on a very long time out. And I just got to sit there, lay there, whatever, with my thoughts and emotions. And I recognized at a certain point that it was like a prison riot, and that there was no order, and that all of my good, fun, happy is being held hostage by the inmates. There was nothing permanent or consistent that I desired to move towards. It was like I didn't want to die, but I forgot how to live. So I really had to figure out how to find the thoughts that I wanted to pursue and entertain some things that, whether I felt it or not, that I wanted to move towards, because all this nonsense was no good. So I began meditating. And
what is meditation?
Okay, let's.
What is meditation?
Meditation. Do it, Jamar.
A mental exercise that trains attention and awareness. A mental exercise that trains attention and awareness. Wow.
So my attention, for all those that know me, is sporadic. I tend to be a little bit like a BB in a shoebox. As a dad, my dad has called me and some of my friends. So obviously, finding those good thoughts, especially when you're in a spot where like you break your neck and you think there's no happiness and everything's a bummer and it wasn't easy. And now that we're in this weird world of crazy things and you flip on the TV and you can't just watch sitcoms anymore without stressing out, we have to make some decisions about our thoughts. and how we want to pursue the things that make us feel good. So I want to play a real simple video about how meditation that gets thrown around like it's just something is a lot more simple than we kind of make it out to be. So let's get a baseline and then talk about it a little bit more.
Let's do it.
We can meditate everywhere, anytime, even 3 seconds, 2 seconds, while you're walking, while you're having coffee and tea, while you're having meeting. So you can meditate. Many people has a little bit misunderstanding about meditation. They think meditation meaning think of nothing, concentrate. So push too much. So we cannot block thought and emotion. In fact, we need thought and emotion. So whether you listen to your monkey mind or not, that's the issue. What I call monkey mind, mine is chatting, pala 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 yada yada. So monkey mind is giving you opinion. So whether you listen to opinion or not, it's up to you, right? So through meditation, what we do is we have to make friends with the monkey mind. But how to make friends? Just giving banana doesn't work, So right method is you need to give job to monkey mind. How to give job monkey mind? So the simple meditation technique is be aware of the breath. So you ask monkey mind, hello, what's breath? So monkey mind says, yeah, good idea. And be aware of breath. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in. There's a lot of thought comes at the background. Don't care, no problem. So as long as if you're not forget your breath, anything is okay. No need too much concentration. Just simply be aware of your breath. Breathe in, out, in, even 2 breath, 1 breath. So therefore, we can meditate everywhere, anytime.
Wow. So simple, man.
Right. Okay, now just that video, okay, it was a perspective that exists that was really simple about something that could be very complex. So you don't necessarily have to get into meditation just to find your good thoughts. You can try a bunch of different things. And if meditation works for you, cool. And there's a bunch of different ones. Like you can do guided meditation, you can do binaural beats, you can do solfeggio frequencies. Once you commit to it, you recognize that there's more than one way to do things. And the reason why I wanted to talk about meditation, it's not about the fact that everybody has to go and actually meditate. It's that once you make a commitment to a practice that you know is going to get you closer to your better self, then you're going to realize that it's not about, I have to go to the gym and that's going to get me in shape. It's like, no. The reason why I want to get in shape is because I want to feel a better me. And if I'm pursuing the feeling instead of the specific thing, then different opportunities arise because I align myself with this idea and energy that I want to feel this way. Not that, I got to go work out because if I don't work out, then I'm not going to be in shape and then I'm not going to sleep good. It's like, oh my God, dude, no. Who's going to stick to a regimen that has all that noise? So isolate the thought, recognize that that's who you are and you're worthy of thinking that thought, and whether you are or not, you're having it. So do something with it, but then recognize how you want to utilize that thought to make you feel. Because Jamar, if you want to dedicate yourself to going to the gym, go do it. But it doesn't mean that if the gym is closed, that you can't work out. Yeah. It means that you could do push-ups in your favorite place to see a sunset. It means that you could call a friend and go on a hike. It means that you can find the thought that's going to get you to the feeling. And then once you start aligning yourself in that manner, crazy stuff starts happening. Because
Coach D.
Yes.
So how long have you, because you've been on the meditation journey for a while, how long have you been actively tuning into a meditative state? And what was the inspiration that got you to that revelation that that's something that you wanted to add to your life?
That's special.
That's your inspiration.
That's my inspiration right there. That man right there, he changed things in a major way.
Really?
What's going on? I gotta throw a shout out to my boy Casper too, because he's the one that brought me there. Okay, so I was at a point in my life about 4 years ago where I had a broken neck, but I found this amazing person, and I was starting to build a life beyond the drama of all the chaos. So I recognized that I didn't want to think and feel this way like this anymore. So I was reading the books and doing this, and I adopted a mechanical version of meditation where I just like working out. I said, okay, I'm going to take 10 breaths and I'm going to think nothing at all. I'm just going to breathe in, breathe out 10 times. And I recognized at that point that I was far more crazy than I was actually aware of, because when I closed my eyes, there was like a circus going on in there. And I was like, oh no. And all the circus, it was full of the bad clowns from like It. And they had knives and there was blood. And so anyway, I dedicated myself to this practice. And I said, whether I like it or not, I'm just going to do it, because
that's deep. That's deep, D.
It's hot, Holmes. There was a lot of bad stuff in there. And I let it in. I entertained it, and then I let it loop. So bad things are going to happen, Jamar, but we don't have to let it have us up. So anyway.
But the key word that you just said, though, Coach D, I don't know if you caught it, is the loop. See, the loop is what creates that our brain is so powerful that it could loop anything. And when we loop the right information, the right thoughts, that's where the power comes from, right? Yeah. But when the mind just knows how to operate. And once we loop the wrong thoughts, the defeating thoughts, the hurt, the anger, the pain, the resentment, the fear, the failure, the doubt, the condemnation, whatever, however you want to describe that empowering thought, man, that thing can just loop forever.
And then you're just letting life happen to you. And it's like, when that goes down, you're just sitting around hoping to catch a break. And it's like, maybe it happens, but I don't know. There's just more to this. And I think that's the spot that Rebecca and I were in when my friend called me up and he's like, I got this crazy idea. I'm going to fly you to Indonesia. We're going to, Robert, what's up?
Hey, happy RT, happy birthday, bro. Today's RT's birthday. Happy birthday, brother. Hey, RT's big. He just started a new plan himself, a new plan of implementing a old principle, new perspective, meditation. Nice. Hey, but speaking of that, who was that picture that the guru that was in the?
Okay, let's go back to that. Okay, so my buddy flies me out to Indonesia, and I'm in the jungle, and it was actually the guy that told me about the story about the plant and the machine. So, Westerners tend to look at it this way, and he goes, but the way you can put yourself in a position to let divine, to let energy, to let whatever's out there or whatever's within you to be in alignment is by going inward. And he took me through this 4-day process, and it was really crazy. It was like, okay, you have to do 4 separate meditations on 4 different mornings. First, you're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to meditate to the wind. And then the next day, you're going to meditate to water. And then you're going to meditate, was it rain, water, wind, sun? There was one more, man.
How long is this process? Like what day of the process is this in his picture?
This was day 4, and I didn't even know he was there. I was just meditating. He came up behind me, and he was kind of just okay. So like the last day was like the craziest thing happened, man. Like as I was meditating, or I like opened my eyes, or it's so hard to put into words, man, because it's a very internal thing. But something I was holding on to that was deep, that I couldn't let go of. It was a darkness that I was entertaining, and it was something that I was familiar with, at least consciously. It was the idea of can't. It was the idea of everlasting fear and no opportunity for joy and purposeless. And for this guy, for Damien, that's as dark as this soul goes. And I didn't recognize that I was holding on to that. And on the 4th day, I had this just really, really weird experience where I almost, when my meditation was done, my body kind of made this weird movement or whatever. And then there was a release. And since that day, like I haven't felt this heaviness. And it's like, I don't want to pin my meditation practice down to that one day, because I challenged myself after that to do a 10-day silent meditation where I meditated for 10 days straight with my wife and didn't say a single word. And meditated for like 8 or 10 hours a day, but I couldn't have opened myself up to that while holding on to that heaviness.
Wow. So there was a block, is what you're saying. There was a block
100%.
that was blocking you from this energy and power that was within. And once you release the block, things are starting to flow, kind of like that video that little dude was talking about. Wow.
Like a heavy blanket.
So would you say the meditation and chakras are in alignment?
How about the energy within my Damien system wasn't able to flow? And the best way I could, or the best explanation that's been given to me is like, you can be the rock at the bottom of the river that the water has to go around, or you can be the twig that floats on top of it. And for me, my whole life, I'm a resistor. I'm a fighter. I grab hold, and man, you ain't moving me. You know, this is who I am. This is how I accomplish things. This is how I create. That's what's up. And that accomplished a lot for me, especially with my personality. But at the same time, like that squeeze, that tension, that I wasn't open. I wasn't able to just
flow.
So eventually, what happens to the rock, Jamar? Because if the rock's at the bottom constantly resisting, doesn't matter if it's a year, 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, it will erode. It will consume you. So to me, I want to say I hit a point where I couldn't hold on anymore. I didn't want to. I didn't want to feel that way. So for everybody that's out there right now dealing with this uncomfortable growing process, it's okay, man. You can just be patient with the idea that you're growing through some things that you might not even understand, and that's okay, because inside of you, man, the thoughts are there. And if you want to pursue those,
we're moving into empower. I feel us transitioning because it's going like bam. Like how do we talk about it? You know. Because you're talking about the empowering perspective of when you get to that place, right?
There we go.
You're hungry. Did you just say chicken?
Yeah, no one's heard me. All right, texting you. This is the thing. She scurries about. The way she does everything so fast, but accomplishes all things. It's like this weird chaotic order where it's like you kind of just step back and you look at it, you're like, wow, yes. So she's the chicken. Anyway.
But you think about the empowering message here that we're about to deliver. What's empowering is when we get to that place where we want more, or where we're saying, hey, we're tired of this. We're open. Because I don't want to be in this state, this place anymore. So I'm going to be open to have a new perspective, right?
Jamal,
and everyone has their own process. What
if it hurts? What if it's not comfortable?
Man, that's so. Here's the thing. Some people, and I say some people as in all of us as a human beings, sometimes we'll allow ourselves to stay in positions that are uncomfortable, that hurt, because we think it's harder to change than to stay the same. And it's such a backwards thought that thought keeps us anchored to that place of, and what if it hurts? It could be mentally, right? It could be physically, spiritually, emotionally. And we can see people as in how we see them on the outside, but we don't know what's going on in the inner workings, man.
But Jamar, we accept that hurt as like this compromised state. Why? Why do we do that? And why should we be subject to it now?
Okay. Why do we do that? I think it's because we as people need accountability. We need to be held to a higher standard, right? Because we can get into this state where we stay in this stagnant state. And if we're not, there's all kind of old principles out there, but today we're just really talking about, two major principles, right? The body system, the operating system, the chakra system, how the body's aligned, the energy flow, and what meditation can do to help us however we want it to help us. But man, like it's so powerful, man, where we're at today, that if we're not around people and environments that are calling us to a higher level, a higher standard, I think it's easy, especially in the world that we're in today, to get to a stagnated state and stay there.
Well, Jamar, I didn't want this whole show to be about Eastern thought and chakras and meditation. Obviously, I've been influenced in a way that I'm inspired to pursue this energetic idea of who I am.
Mhm.
But one of the reasons I wanted to bring it up is because I knew that you didn't necessarily have a whole lot of experience with what we were going to talk about. But to me, it wasn't about the practice that you did. It's why you would apply effort towards something like that. Because I don't think meditation is going to work for everybody. It's a very effective tool, but other things might be more applicable or more enjoyable. I think we need to find opportunities to take ourselves from this red energy or this neutral energy to be green, to be excited, like you said, to want to pursue something. Like if you think you should meditate and you read a bunch of books that say this is why it's good, and then you give it a shot, but every time you do it, you're just sitting with your eyes closed and you feel ridiculous, then it might not be for you. So Jamar, take this template or this framework that we've been talking about, that we've been inspiring and creating with, and inspire some ideas of like Western concepts that people can do too. I mean, you obviously talked about your program. Why would you apply yourself to that type of strict regimen? And if somebody wants to do something like that, where would they start?
The first place, well, this is what I want to empower the people to consider, right? Are you ready, vested community, for change, for growth? Is there more out there, right? Because there's all kind of programs out there, routines in the world, plans that we can embark on. But what inspired me is being associated with someone who was striving to go to a higher level, who was practicing, who was doing the work to get to that next version of themselves. So for me, that's how I got called to go higher, because of the people that I'm associating with. So if you're out there, you're listening, who do you know in your work, in your life, your family, your friends, your association, who can hold you accountable, who can challenge you? That's the key word, challenge you to do something, to embark on a journey, a plan, a program, a routine that's going to really empower you once you get to the end of that, complete that game, that finish line. And that would be my encouragement, because we can't tell people what they're going to experience on the journey. Like that right there, before you started that meditation journey, like you couldn't tell someone what was going to happen. But today you can't even put it into words, because it was such a powerful revelation, a powerful shift in you, that something changed. It's like, you ever seen that show Naked and Afraid?
Yeah.
Okay. Why would people go on a 3-week, 21 days island, desert, somewhere in the jungle, naked with a stranger, with a satchel, a blade, and like a fire starter, right? But there's so many people who don't make it. But those few, the selected few that go 21 days and they finish, you see them at the end, they can't even express to you in words what they experience. They're so empowered because they finished. So vested community, whatever it is, doesn't matter what it is. Find something, a plan, a routine, a program, a process to stick to, and finish it, so you can feel empowered. I'm getting fired up right now. We're coming down. I'm ready to take off, bro.
Hey, Jamar, look, I gotta shine some light on a little bit of humility on my part. Okay, so that guru that I just showed you, and the incredible villa that we stayed at, that was at this paradise, this idea that it wasn't even my idea. Like, I had a friend drop into my life and present this, and then basically come in and all but sleep on my couch until I agreed to get in a plane and go to Indonesia and see this guy. So through my process of learning, there was so much discomfort. There's so much of internal reflection that hurt other people. I did not have a lot of grace when it came to figuring myself out in relationship to the people that were trying to help me, because here are these souls that are trying to grow with me in this I am we are process. And since it wasn't familiar, and since it violated my every expectation, I didn't know how to act. And since I was so broken on the inside, man, like there was collateral damage. And part of one of the reasons I'm going into this diatribe is because I love the guy that brought me there, and I still haven't talked to him since I left. So in a lot of ways, man, that experience with that guru and that friend blew up in my face. And in every relationship, we have to take responsibility for the role that we played. And I know I could have done better, and I am better because of it. So it's not always easy to fall into these practices, whether they're new or old, to change yourself. Once you dive in, you got to be ready to go the whole distance, man, because there's still, there's parts of me that I'm still growing into, and I'm still learning how to accept. And I'm nowhere near ready to be done bettering myself. And I'm really grateful for the things that have happened. And I'm finally now in a position. And the reason I share this story with you, Vested community, is that it doesn't always look pretty, man. And it very rarely meets your expectation. Surrendering is taking all the hardest things, looking them right in the eye, and letting go. And man, that's so hard. And sometimes when you do it, you literally violate the expectations, thoughts, feelings, and emotions of the person around you or the people around you trying to help. So this awareness thing, just be patient. Try to let go with a little bit of grace. And when it doesn't go well, forgive yourself, because it ain't easy, but you're worth it. So tomorrow, we tell a little something and I ask him a question.
You know what, Coach D, I just want to tell you I love you, bro, and just thank you for always showing up to be in this space with me. And thank you, Tech Team. And thank you to the Vested community that's here. And we always want to encourage you to inspire, create, empower in your life. That's the whole purpose of our message to the world. Is we don't care what you believe, what your faith is, what nationality, where you come from. Our mission here is to be a light source in the world and to encourage you to shine your light in the world, because there's people out there who need your ideas, who need your thoughts, who need your passion, who need your vision, your dreams, who need your leadership, who needs your love, who needs you to grow to that next version of you so you can help them. So that's always the foundation of the Vested community. And I got one question for you, though. Are you vested?